and Sign Up Genius and Text Edley and get links to it. I'm going to try and capture all of this. Okay, I am going to move on to the second question because I do want to get through the 4 questions we asked. So we talked about virtual onboarding, and one of the things I want to talk about is there's a very big difference between orientation and onboarding. Orientation is that one and done. You're going to hear me say that a lot because that one and done, the student comes in, they fill out paperwork, they know where the bathrooms are, they know where the student lounge is, or they know how to use the LMS depending on how we're providing that orientation. But onboarding is a process, and this is really the key here. Onboarding is a process from the student who walks in the door until they're fully integrated into your program, and you're going to have that student going to make gains, and they're connected, and they're going to complete, right? We're working on a process here. So some of the things that I'm hearing about is it's very difficult to onboard students virtually. You know, there's a lot happening in their world, and a lot of students, especially some of our lower literate students or our students who are low English language learners, are struggling with the virtual onboarding because it's very difficult to try to instruct them on how to use Zoom or how to instruct them in how to fill out online forms when English is not their first language and they're low literate. So I understand that these issues are happening. So here are some of the key ideas, and let's kind of link that back to when we talked about marketing. Those onboarding videos for Instagram can be a very quick video of this is how you get registered for your program. This is a very 2 to 3 minutes. People don't have attentions. I would never put a video up of more than 5 minutes for students. They want quick and easy, so you might bring out 3 or 4 videos in a very short length. But they can be how do you register? Where do you click the link? What do you know, and have somebody talking them through that. Because one of the things that I saw a lot in the conversations is that there was a lot of personalized phone calls, personalized contact. And while I think that is incredibly important and extremely valuable, I want to talk about sustainability. You know, is it sustainable when you have larger numbers of students coming in that you have an intake person doing, rather than doing an intake of 10 students at a time, they're doing 10 individual intakes? And how sustainable does that feel? So when we start looking at how to market, let's blend those ideas a little bit and say we're going to put an Instagram page out or Facebook Live videos or another social media tool that's content specific that helps the student understand the process and the benefit for coming into the program. You know, we can talk about, I think City Colleges of Chicago did online orientation where they had a virtual orientation and a virtual meet and greet type of experience where students came in and they showed them industry sector type classes and said, you know, here's what we're going to do if you're going to come into a healthcare bridge. Here are the people you're going to be interacting with, and this is what the process is. And those virtual orientations went very well. So when you're talking about onboarding, I think it's about a process from beginning to end, and that recruitment is a part of the onboarding process because the students know what the expectations are. Let's see. There's Screencastify to do quick videos and to show you how you're using your computer screen. So yeah, part of that can be showing a student on these tutorials about how to navigate the learning management system or the web conferencing platform or the vendor system that you're using, and you can have these videos in there. And you can link the students to those videos as well. So I want to pause and I want to have you guys share out anything that I said here that is helpful to you, that you want to clarify, or that you would have a counter statement for. Okay. Another one is Loom. Again, these are the tools that you can actually use. And then I presume Loom is something that you can either put on your social media or send to students. Again, it's about making sure that you have a platform that puts that information out and people know where to find it so that it's consistent. If you're going to use Instagram and Facebook as a way to communicate information, make sure they're linked off of your adult ed page. If you're going to have an Instagram, make sure that Instagram links to your adult ed page and your Facebook page. And it's all about making those connections. So it's that no wrong door concept. There's no virtual wrong door for a student to find you. And that's kind of one of the keys here. Okay, that virtual onboarding can look differently across a lot of different organizations. I'm going to go to question 3. Okay, we're talking about virtual support. And this is one, again, is very complicated because what I'm hearing from everybody that is in the feedback that I've read through it is a lot of individualized, customized support for those students. And again, I value that, and I think that is so essential to student success. But again, I want to link back to sustainability. You know, that's a very, very tough model to keep going. And what I would also say, it's putting these tools together. So we're talking about virtual support. One of the key areas is a student needs to know who to ask for help and how to ask for help. One of the programs that responded talked about virtual office hours for the career navigator, virtual office hours for support staff. And that becomes a really great tool to have students know when they can come talk to somebody. And the virtual student services is probably going to be something more and more common as we move forward. So thinking about online office hours, maybe one morning office hour and one evening, whatever your capabilities and capacity work within, would be a really great tool to connect those students. And when you start talking about cross-training, that online virtual hours for your career navigator and a student who's not associated with your program comes in, they can learn all about your program, and that career navigator can send them the links to the online orientation, send them to the Sign Up Genius that Cindy just shared, send them to any of the tools that you have available, and you're starting to build that web of services. Yeah, and virtual onboarding, I'm glad somebody shared that response. Virtual onboarding is a process. You know, there are things that we need to have when that student first comes in your program. We need to have their intake. We need to have that NRS assessment as soon as that assessment is reasonably possible to give. We need to have that information up front. But the onboarding is more of that connection, that relationship, that access to services, that integration into your classroom. Those are the pieces that come with the onboarding process. Okay. And we're going to go ahead to go to the last question. Virtual bridge programs. What was really interesting to me is I had the least amount of responses to this question. And I wasn't sure if everyone was tired of doing the responses or we just didn't have any ideas to share, because this is a very complicated issue. You know, one of the most powerful statements that I've read in here is that students don't have time right now because they are remote learning with their children, because their children are on technology devices to do their own school. They're trying to get their high school equivalency, improved literacy skills, improved language learning. So to add one more thing is very complicated. And what struck me is that we're still thinking of bridge programming as one more thing, and rather than kind of blending it into a full program offering. And I know that we're struggling right now trying to think of this new normal. and this new reality. We're also struggling with lower enrollment, so it's harder to get students in there. And one of the most powerful parts of the conversation I had in my group is the person who I was talking to. Her challenges with virtual bridge programming was that students didn't want to enroll in a bridge programming. And I said, okay, why are students coming to the adult ed program now? And the response was that they wanted to get a job or they wanted to go on to college. So the student is looking towards their future. They're saying that this is a step to the next level. What we need to be able to do is figure out a way to say, oh, that's wonderful. You want to do these? Let's do them now, and we'll blend these pieces together. I know that sounds easier said than done. I do recognize and value the hard work that goes into them. But I think this is going to go back to that rebranding messaging of what adult ed is. Adult ed isn't the place to only get your adult ed GED, high school equivalency, taking the HiSET test, or improving English language learning. We're about that and so much more. So that rebranding and helping students shift their mindset to what adult ed is really about will also help them understand why a bridge program or an IET program is meaningful for them. Now I'm going to pause. That's just kind of some reflections over the things that we had seen and said. I'm going to kind of put this out for some final thoughts that you had. And then I did have an email that came in while I was talking that I do want to address about Daisy. So I'll wrap up with this and I'll answer, I'll make one statement about Daisy. Okay. So final comments or thoughts about your admin meeting, the process, the information shared, anything that you want to share, go ahead. Cindy asked a Constitution test. Okay. There was a Constitution test question. I did send that to the person who oversees the Constitution, and I will get that information back to you guys as soon as I have a better understanding of
Kathy,
what
here
those
and
issues are.
Kathy,
Okay,
can
great.
you hear me?
Okay, thank you. Yep.
Yeah. So I already sent an answer to Sarah regarding this, but the issue with the Constitution test is I can't force a test center to open if it's not able to do so at this time, nor would we want to. I mean, let's be clear. We really don't want a test center to be open if it can't do so safely and keep our test takers safe. But the Constitution test cannot be proctored online. We just don't have the capability to do this at this time. So yes, we are aware that testing is limited, particularly in the Cook County area. Until more campuses reopen, there's not a great solution for that. I have an online map that we're maintaining of test centers that are open across the state, with the particular focus being on making that tool available to the Cook County students. So if you haven't seen that map yet, it's available on the ICCB website. It's available on the Cook County website in multiple places in the high school equivalency sections of our page. And if you're not on that map and you are open, please let me know, so we'll add you to that. If you are on the map and you unfortunately can't support test takers by appointment any longer, please let me know that as well, so that I can take the site down. But that is one tool that we have available for students who are not able to find a site to test at this time. They are still able to get a provisional waiver of the Constitution test requirement. Now, we do recommend strongly doing everything they can to find a test center to take the test at, because that provisional waiver is just that. It's provisional. It doesn't last forever, and they are going to have to complete that requirement sooner rather than later. But if they live in an area where testing is not available, particularly in Cook County, if they're not able to find a site that can take them at this time, or they're unable to travel to take the Constitution test requirement, if they've finished all 4 of their high school equivalency exam sections for the GED, or all 5 for high center tasks, and passed all of those exams, they're eligible to request a copy of that provisional waiver when they request a copy of their transcript. Right now, the waiver is available through the end of September, but we are planning to extend it again, likely through the end of January, hoping that then more test sites will be open in the spring semester. That waiver gives them about 3 months to complete their Constitution test requirement, and you essentially use it to explain to a business or to a post-secondary institution why that particular requirement has not been completed at this time. So it's a letter that we attach to the student's official transcript. However, in order to get a copy of their certificate, they do have to complete that Constitution test requirement. So it's intended to be a stopgap during this time when testing is still not available. But yes, we are aware it's a burden on our test takers. Unfortunately, there simply just is not a great solution at this time. So we're doing what we can with the provisional waiver, with that map of test sites that's available to our test takers, showing them where they can call to schedule an appointment at sites that have agreed to take students who are not, or candidates, I should say, who are not currently enrolled in an adult education center. So please view our website for that map. And if you don't see yourself on there, but you should be on there, please let me know. We definitely want to add folks to that map if you're open to appointments for the Constitution test to folks that are not currently enrolled in your adult education program. Does that answer that question for everyone?
I think that does. Thank you, Caitlin. Okay, just again, some high-level questions that are coming in. The one about the Constitution. There was a question about the budget. I am not prepared to, or capable of answering that. I don't think anybody knows anything more than what we're hearing right now. But I do want you to know that Adult Ed state leadership, ICCB leadership, we are all working very closely to ensure that Adult Ed is taken care of. So I don't have any more specific information to share at this time until we really know what this might look like. The equipment proposals that we asked for, that process is moving through the pipeline. That wasn't coming out of Adult Ed money, so there are some additional steps to get that. We are on process of that, and I should have more formal information within a few days or a week, just to let you know where that is in its process. I'm glad that people have appreciated the format we're trying to do this year. I've been hearing some positive feedback, and I appreciate that. What I know about our Octave has held strong in the fact that we are to attempt to reach our gains, measurable skill gains, post-testing rates as we planned on, but they do recognize that we are living in unprecedented times. So it is within our best interest to do the absolute best we can to reach those targets, understanding that we know, as Octave does know, that we're living in some challenging times. And I'm really glad people are hearing the idea of rebranding, because I think our students need to understand more about what we are. We're not just about getting a high school diploma. We are the step to connect them to that degree, to that job. Jacqueline, I would expect the lower levels of iPathways to be released. The last I spoke to their staff, they were doing some final polishing, so that should be very quickly. I'm hoping by November at the latest, if not a little bit sooner. It is very complicated to ensure all content is accessible, and that's kind of always the last piece, to make sure that all the text is accessible, all the content is, things like that. Yeah, it'll be ready for spring, yes. Okay, So my to-do list is to put this list together, and I will send that out with the summary of the last conversation I said I was going to send out. I actually have that drafted in my email. I just haven't hit send. So I'll do it both at the same time and put these together. Sarah, is there any way that you can help save this chat? I'm not sure if a participant that I can save the chat, but is there a way to get that file saved so I have all of this?
Yes.
Beautiful. Then I'm gonna, so I know we were supposed to be here till 4:30. I will let you guys sign off. If you feel like your questions have been answered, I will hang on for any lingering conversations and questions that you may have. But if you feel like your day has been met and you are zoomed out for the day, feel free to sign off and enjoy your day. Boy, I didn't even get the rest of that sentence out and people were logging off. I'm
Thanks,
like,
Kathy.
all right, like I'm gonna hang on for a few minutes, so don't close the meeting yet, please. Just gonna see if anybody has any more information.
Sure.
Oh, the Daisy update. Okay. There were some questions about Daisy. What I will tell you is that we are making progress every week to get more and more features and functionality either added back into it or updated and corrected. We meet with the Kate staff weekly to work through this process. This week, our team is sidetracked, the Kate team and ICCB, as we're getting our federal reports developed and put in. And then we're back on track early next week with getting features and functions done. We were able to release the ability to understand what the pandemic and lack of post-testing and all of that did to your programs, so programs can see that. We've been able to get a lot of the hiccups resolved. There are still some lingering issues. I am very aware of those issues, as is the Kate team, as is the data team, and we're working through those. If you have specific questions, just email us and we'll make sure we tell you where they fit in the timeline to fix. Well, Susan, we don't have a hospitality room per se, but I think Sarah said that she would probably try to connect people if they wanted to. And I would also say that tomorrow night, is it tomorrow we're doing a virtual trivia that I hope you all join us in.
Yes. So tomorrow morning at 7:15, you can join for yoga. There's also a couple of different coffee discussion groups that are early in the morning before we start. Tomorrow evening, we'll have a social event of trivia. You do need to sign up for that because there's only 200 people can participate. And I did say earlier, if there are people, and I'll put it in the chat again, my email, if there are people who would like to have a conversation this evening, I would be happy to an impromptu, let's set up a Zoom room, here's the link, come and just chat and share information. If you're, there's been a ton of information shared today, and it's been a great day of connecting, and I just thank all of you, and I thank Kathy for her leadership. And if you still have more to talk about tonight, we will accommodate you. So yeah, Amber, also the Scribbles to Superheroes is also tomorrow morning, which is a drawing class that one of our vendors came up with, which is super interesting.
Okay, well, I can't wait for Scribbles. And I am gonna see a couple of the questions. Somebody has a question about virtual bridge. I'm gonna answer that in just a minute. The update on meeting generation. We are hopeful that programs will do everything absolutely not within their capabilities, as you always do, to meet your generation. But I do know that Jennifer and I will look at what those numbers look like in December, recognizing the situations that we're in. So right now, the expectation is that programs do try to do their absolute best to get to those generation expectations, and that we will look as a team and have state input and program input as we get closer to December. Okay, it's a little, so for that one, I think I got that. And then Adrian, you had a comment about virtual bridges. If you can unmute yourself, I'll do my best to answer that. Oh, Adrian, can you guys unmute Adrian, please? Adrian Smith.